Paul, thanks for your time today. The all-important question before the all-important game. Are there any fresh injuries at all?
No, all good. Adam Crook's just slight ankle knock, but he just missed a couple of days training just as precaution, but he'll be fit and training ahead of the game. And other than that, as we have been. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Should you want him to, is Arjan Reiki fit enough to start?
No, I don't think he is, Matt, in truth. Came on the other day, and I think his fitness levels to a degree are good in one sense, but I think, short in others. But, it was nice to get him back involved because that was pretty last minute. So pleased to have him back on board, and he is training with us. So can come into consideration for the squad. And that's obviously something that I've got to weigh up and decide upon in the next couple of days.
What other big selection dilemmas do you have, Paul?
In a couple of areas, I think there are decisions to be made. Not going to say for certain because we've got a couple of days training yet. And as I think I've alluded to before, being in this situation in the past and then something happens and your thoughts have to change, or maybe just your thoughts change from something you see. So not going to get too sort of wound up about team selection, but I've got ideas and thoughts of how we would go.
Will Luke Waterfall come straight back in then?
I'm not going to tell you any of that, Matt. You know that.
And I've got to ask the question.
Yeah, well, we could probably go through them all, and I'll give you the same response. We'll have to wait and see. But the lads that were missing and left out against Eastleigh are available and are fit. So those are, like I said, more decisions rather than worrying about fitness concerns.
Is David Long-King back with you now?
Yes, he is. Dave's come back. Obviously, he's our player. Contracted his season with Woking came to an end, and he's back in with the boys. No issues in terms of fitting back in, and it's a couple of days.
Will he do well to force his way in though into the squad for this game?
Yeah, that's probably kind of fair comment. But again, you never know. And I mean that sincerely because of what I've discussed previous. And ultimately what he is he's been playing, he's match fit. So that, it's not like he's come back from a long-term injury or anything like that. So that's a positive for Dave, but also for ourselves.
So how's training mapped out then between now and the big day, Paul?
We're just trying to make it as normal a kind of lead into a game as possible, as if it was a Saturday to Saturday. So a couple of days training, a day's breather, and then prior to the game. And then we'll just travel up on the day. As I said, it's not a game that's too far away, thankfully. And, it should be pretty straightforward on that front.
So you're trying to make it as normal as you can, but does it feel normal, honestly?
Yeah, it does at the minute. Obviously, I put a lot of work into looking at Notts County and getting it across in terms of things that we feel Notts County do well, things that we think we can do well, and try and knit all that together. We kind of touched on some of that today. Yesterday was more just a case of getting the lads back in and not doing too much after having a little bit of a rest, and then that'll step up sort of Saturday, and Sunday there'll be probably a little bit more information. But other than that, it's it does feel normal at this moment in time. I think that'll certainly for myself at least, that any sort of different feeling will probably come a lot closer to game day rather than a few days before.
You're a veteran, aren't you, at the playoffs now? How many is this for you now?
I think, did I say 8 here? I think that was just as manager. So yeah, quite a number of them, I guess, and not quite the same format. But my first experience as a manager, at least player manager, was one-off games, albeit 2 rather than the 3 that we'd have to go through if we were to be promoted. So I experienced that side of it. I've clearly had experience of the more traditional way, as it seems at the minute. So yeah, it's not something that's going to faze me or get too worked up about. But at the same time, of course, the big games, the games you want to be involved in. If you haven't been fortunate enough to get an automatic spot, I mean, in our case, in our league, 1 spot, and on that, congratulations to Stockport for a fantastic season and getting back in the Football League, and for 6 other teams, it's the next best thing and an opportunity in front of us all.
Does the playoff experience become easier to handle the more you experience it, the older you get?
I think so. I think it has to. I don't think, again, there's a little bit of your character and how you are anyway. Never kind of overly phased me. Again, I think you kind of enjoy it. But it's been a couple of years, but at the same time, I think experience can only help. It certainly shouldn't hinder you. I've had highs and lows, and I think if you've been in it as many times as I have, that's probably only natural. If someone's got a 100% record and been in it that many times, then I'd perhaps speak to the owners and suggest that they might get rid of me and get that person in, because that'd be some record.
We know about your high winning at Wembley, but which playoff game hurt you the most?
I thought you said my height then, Matt. I'm going to say we do all know about my height or lack of it.
That was a touchy subject. I wasn't going to go there.
No, again, I think I've heard that enough, so it's far from a touchy subject anymore. But which one hurt the most? I think Bristol Rovers losing in the final, having played so well against a team that I think we all knew was going to be really tough. But the circumstance in how we lost felt a little bit, it's a strong word, but kind of almost felt a little cheated. We speak about it with how the game played out, and then losing out on penalties, the amount of fans that we took, the amount of fans what Bristol Rovers took, and that group of players. I've had a lot of good squads, but that one at that time, just felt really special. So certainly from a Grimsby point of view, that, and then my experience at Shrewsbury also, because again, such a special group in a different circumstance where there's always been an element of expectation at Grimsby Town, at Shrewsbury. Favourites to get relegated, and for that team to just fall short, that wasn't easy. But kind of a hurt in a different way. So yeah, it's unfortunately this can be quite a bit of hurt and pain attached to it. Certainly in the moments very quickly afterwards, and the next day or two, and to a degree, as I've just alluded to, you carry that with you still.
Yeah. How much did it drive you, Paul, to avoid that feeling again?
Yeah, of course it does. As I think I said to you the other week, whether I feel that you was totally accountable for it. The fact is, I came back to the football club to try and keep us in the league. We didn't achieve that. I think we've touched on it before, but maybe that discussion is not for now about the reasons why and how difficult a job that was. But it's still, having worked so hard to get the club in the league, and all right, I went away for some time, but that drives me. I want the club to be back in the Football League, and I want to try and help build it so it stays there. And it, I think we got there, and then whether it was not with me and Chris leaving, but certainly didn't feel like the club kicked on. It kind of just didn't seem to work from then onwards. And again, that's not a criticism of the previous managers, but something we didn't grasp that chance to become at least an established sort of League Two club, and we find ourselves back here. So that's certainly a driving force for myself, and we know how the fans are and how they would want to be back in the league.
A new format for you then in the playoffs. Which one do you prefer?
I think I said recently the other one. The one that I'm sure like many football fans have watched over the past days and maybe week, whenever the League One playoffs were. I just like the fact of having to come up against someone so quickly, and the dynamic of how that changes, and to the time when we got promoted, where we lose at home against Braintree, and it was perhaps deemed in certain quarters that was us out of it and everything's wrong, and then we go and win there, which caused some really good memories, and obviously gave us the opportunity to then go back to Wembley, and this time be successful and create again absolute many more memories with another group of good people. So I do prefer that, but we know what it is, and I get why in terms of if we're extending it in terms of the teams involved. So yeah, we know what's in front of us and how it works. So there's no second chances. On Monday, one way or another, whether it's normal time, extra time, penalties, we'll know as fair and be moving on to either a next game or, reflecting and then very quickly planning for the next season.
Externally, there doesn't seem to be the same pressure that there was attached to your playoff campaign back in 2016 because of where you've come from in the last 12 months. Is that a fair comment? Is that the way it feels inside?
Yeah, I think that is fair comment, Matt. Doesn't change anything in terms of kind of any, I guess it is pressure to a degree what you put on yourself and the hopes and aspirations that you have. But I would say that that's a fair comment, and maybe it's because of, a change in ownership, which again touched on before, what, or certainly my opinions and views on the squad that I inherited and the changes that we've made, does feel like we've made a lot of progress in, sort of a year and a half almost. And given us.
What are you most proud of, Paul, of the progress that you've made then this season?
I think there's a little bit about the kind of just the environment that we try to produce, and again going back to what we inherited, and even maybe a couple of players that were there at that time that are here now, and how kind of they're different, because there's no doubt in my mind what kind of we came back to was never going to bring success, and that's part of it. Yes, of course, it's not the absolute be all and end all, because we've seen very wealthy clubs and teams with exceptional players in it that for some reason don't win things, and I'm probably talking right at the top, but doesn't guarantee it, but that certainly helps. So the quality of player and the quality of the squad has certainly improved drastically, in again, my opinion. But I think under that, there has to be, like I said, the right environment to, as staff we try to set to drive players, and also then what the players hopefully buy into. And, some of that has also been, of course, with the help of the new owners and a new sort of fresh start for the football club. And I think that stretches again to the fans and how they are about the football club at this moment in time.
I know you got to win 3 matches, but do you think you're ready to return to the league?
As a football club, absolutely. I'll caveat that with we've still got a lot of improving to do, and a lot of I think still a lot of learning to go on. That's all of us. Learning for me in terms of, like I said, new owners, new kind of ways of working, ways of going about things. Obviously, some core principles. It wouldn't matter who's in charge about trying to win games and, like I said, be successful on that front. But also, I think learning. Jason and Andrew, very open. Debbie, new to the football environment as well. All the learning process. You never stop learning. But I think I've said many times, I'm confident if we were in the league now, or had it been last season, I don't think we'd be talking, been talking about a relegation battle or being relegated. Far from it. I think we'd have been fine. But it's still, as I said, a lot of improving to do.
What's the difference then?
Again, I think the environment, the way that, I think we're trying to grow, but grow within, we're not being silly, because we have to understand we are still National League. And the whole outlook and approach, I think, is different. The squad needed a overhaul, which it got and has had. And like I said, that's an ever changing part of a football club. We're trying to, eventually get to a point where we've got a more solid base and there's not as many changes, each transfer window. At the same time, you always have to strive to improve. But that process in my eyes is still very much ongoing, and will probably take another couple of windows before hopefully you have got a more settled squad. The difficulty you have if you're doing that well and players are, then obviously you can get interest because of where we are in the football pyramid.
John McAtee has been very important for you, hasn't he, since joining the club? He's had a 2-year contract when he joined. Would you revisit trying to get him to extend his deal in the summer?
Yeah, look, that's something that we've looked at as a football club, and conversation with John's agent. That, as you said, he's done well. We can't hide away from the facts. He's done very well. We're pleased about that. Big part of the reason why we've had a good season. But again, we've got to be sensible as a football club, and decisions we won't be made on, kind of just, I don't know what the right phrase is, on a whim or just thinking, oh, we need to do this and panic. He's got to be all balanced and structured. And as you obviously are aware, it's not simply on the football club that decision. So, we're in talk. John knows he's valued here. He knows what we think of him. He also knows where we feel is best for him. And I think, like I say, he is fully aware of that. So those talks will continue. But right now, that's kind of being parked. Let's see until our season is concluded, whenever that may be. And that's something, we can have a conversation about.